going to wake up and say, we're 10-6. We love our schedule. We're 10-6. We got 10 wins. That's how it's going to go. Some teams got it harder than others. The 49ers, I thought, have a rough go at it because in weeks 2 and weeks 3, they play the Giants and the Jets back-to-back weeks right out of the gate. So you're telling the 49ers, after having however many weeks they've had in quarantine, living shelter in place, all this stuff, then we go through training camp, and then we're heading out, and for 14 straight days, we're going to be out on the East Coast playing in East Rutherford. That's a tough ride for the defending champions. Usually they get a little softer for that kind of thing where they at least are given primetime games against big teams at home. So every team could have some gripes. I look at the Jets. It was going to be hard no matter what. Last year the Jets had a cake schedule down the stretch. They went 6-2. Those wins at the end, it means they're going to get a tougher schedule this year. So if the Jets are going to do it, it's not going to be because their schedule's a bunch of cake teams. They're going to have to win those games.
Tampa Bay and Brady. Listen, to me, I look at it and I think it's a pretty soft ending at the end if Atlanta's out of the playoffs with a lame duck coach. Atlanta twice in Detroit, Matt Patricia. You could have some lame duck coaching going on there. Your overall thoughts, though, on what Brady got?
I don't think it was ideal right out of the gates. I mean, you look at that thing, you're going into New Orleans, and gosh, Colin, just an aside, how good will it feel to be just watching Joe and Troy and Aaron from the Superdome with actual football and sports? Like, I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
And then it's Breeze and Brady. So I think that's a tough one. That's a tough place to win, especially considering Brady might not have the easiest offseason, whereas everyone thinks this is going to be turnkey. Brady is one of these mad scientists where he needs to work with his guys and has had the same playbook his entire career. Brady has to learn an entire new verbiage, an entire new offense. He's never worked with Byron Leftwich or Bruce Arians his entire career. And I don't think it's as turnkey as the Saints, where Breeze and Peyton speak the same language they have for 15 years, and it's the same cast of characters on offense, Kamara and, of course, Michael Thomas. I think the Bucs might be big underdogs in that game, and I think it might take the Buccaneers a little bit before they hit their stride, and they don't have any room for that. Their first 4 weeks are all big-time games against big-time opponents.
I look at New England, and, I don't like the direction of their weapons. I think they're a Julian Edelman injury from being the least talented offensive weaponry in the NFL. I'm looking at home games. I guess that's breaks with the Niners and Baltimore. But, God, early they got to go to Seattle. They got to go to Kansas City. Buffalo's pretty early. I mean, what do you make of New England going forward?
All right, so the behind the scenes on this, the NFL doesn't arbitrarily make a schedule. The NFL puts the teams that they want to highlight on primetime. And we've got 8 different teams who have 5 primetime games. The Saints aren't one of them. There's a few other playoff teams from last year. The Vikings aren't one of them. The Patriots are one of them. So either the NFL and the league office believes in the power of the brand of the Patriots to the national audience. Either they believe in Belichick, or there's almost kind of like this schadenfreude feel of like people want to see Rome burn. And if this team is not great out of the gates, those games aren't going to be flex necessarily. So 5 primetime games with Jared Stidham as the likely quarterback with no Brady, and not a lot of weapons on defense. They lost, obviously, Kyle Van Noy and a few Landon Roberts, 2 guys. Like, this is going to be the ultimate test for Belichick because they have a very difficult schedule, and they also have 5 primetime games where the entire country is watching. And guess what? No secret here. A lot of people don't like the Patriots. This might be one of those things where the Patriots lose a lot of games in primetime, and they're on the next week and the week after that. Or Belichick gets the last laugh, and the Buccaneers struggle out of the gates, and here come the Patriots, and it's Belichick's genius on primetime 5 times to show it.
Peter Schrager joining us. Week 3, I mean, the most exciting game for a lot of people is Chiefs at Ravens. Is that the big one for you?
That's the big one. It's a Monday night game, and, these 2 teams have played twice before. One of them was a Mahomes incredible comeback victory 2 years ago, and then last year it was another Mahomes victory. Both those games were in Arrowhead. I think a lot of people expected these 2 teams to square off in the AFC Championship game. The Titans had other ideas for that. I look at that Week 3 game, Monday night. It's kind of both teams have gotten their feet settled and they can get after it. But there are a lot of fun games in this one. You know what? I look at Thanksgiving night, and I think of the Ravens with Lamar Jackson and all the hype that he's gotten going into Pittsburgh on a Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, and Roethlisberger's back, and that defense is hitting. Like, that's the stuff I get up for. I love that. When the entire country's watching, mid-season, what are you? What do you got right before we get into December? I'll take Ravens at Steelers Thanksgiving, almost over Chiefs at Ravens early in September.
Did you get text last night from any coaches or GMs regarding the schedule?
Yes, I got several because there's a lot of quirks and like weird stuff in these schedules. Like I mentioned, the 49ers have 2 straight games out there in New York early on. The Patriots have a weird stretch where they play the Rams, and the very next week they play the Chargers in the same exact stadium, so they've got to stay out here. The Chiefs, they have this brutal schedule, and then at the end of the season, they've got 2 games in South Florida in December where it's like, okay, thank you very much, NFL schedule makers. We'll take a nice 2 weeks in Florida. There's a lot of teams that have very tough beginnings and then kind of ease off at the end. And there's some teams that just have brutal schedules at the end. But this is what it always is on schedule day. And I think everyone's feeling is the same. Like, I'm not going to complain about anything. We're just hoping and praying that there's football week 1 that we could all watch. And as the NFL forges forward, and everything's been on schedule and on time, and they plan on playing those games.
Yeah. It coin flipped today, preseason. I looked at the schedule yesterday, and I said, probably won't have a preseason. Am I being negative or realistic?
I don't know about that. Let's give it a couple of weeks and see how the country responds. What I'll say is this. What is good for, I don't know, the Kansas City Chiefs or the Indianapolis Colts might be a totally different story for the Rams, the Chargers, the 49ers, and teams in New Jersey, the Giants and the Jets. Like, this is a very state-by-state thing right now, and I don't know, like, do the 49ers or the Rams, do they have a typical training camp? Is that possible? And if it's not, is there any quality in the fact that, okay, well, look, Indianapolis hasn't been hit so hard. Are the Colts going to? I think it's part of the reality, though. Like, all right, you might not have it. Everyone might not be completely equal in this thing. There might need to be some adjustments from team to team to team. Let's just have to deal with that. I will say this, though. The NFL schedule makers putting a Giants home game week 1 on Monday Night Football is pretty badass. It's like we are going to be playing football. And not only are we going to be playing football, we're not avoiding the possibility that there won't be football in these certain states. No, New Jersey and New York have been hit really hard. We're going for it. Monday night, if everything's safe and everything's ready, we're going to bring sports back in grand fashion. I got to tip my cap to the NFL. They're going for it.
Peter Schrager, good talking to you, buddy.
Always great, Colin. Thank you.
NFL Network, Good Morning Football, too. Get your free credit scorecard today, even if you're not a Discover customer. Include your